Okay, so in this video, we are going to be installing Gentoo. Pretty simple. I wouldn't suggest installing Gentoo to a normie or anyone that's not tech literate and or has a ton of time on their hands. So, go to gentoo.org, then go to Wiki, Documentation, Gentoo Handbook, and choose your CPU type or architecture. For me, this is x86 AMD 64, which is basically any modern processor. There's also 32-bit CPUs and even RISC. So AMD 64. About the Gentoo installation. Okay. Choosing the right installation medium. Configuring the network. I'm gonna jump right to preparing the disks. Which is all here. But I already know how to do that, so try this. It's really easy to wipe your entire all your data on a drive. So choose the one you're going to use for this installation. If you choose one that already has data on it, you're gonna wipe out all the data. So be very careful. So for me, this is gonna be loop run. I'm going to use GPT, so G, then. And this is for EFI. So a 265 megabyte file with type 1, which for GPT is EFI, then a 1 gigabyte for the boot partition, a 8 gigabytes for swap, which is 19, a 20, then a 50 gigabyte root partition, which is gonna be your main operating system partition, then one final one with the rest. Do that quickly. But for me, I only have like a 100 gig drive, so I'm gonna do only a root partition. Okay, now we've created all the partitions. Now, to go about making the file systems on it. So for EFI, we're gonna do 32 sector, or yeah, which will make it a FAT32 file system, and then mkfs.fat to specify the partition file system. Run that as root, then mkfs.ext form, and the name, which we're gonna be doing specifying as root to as boot to the boot partition. Now, then for the swap, mkswap 1 in partition 3, which is our swap partition. Then ext form -l root -have lpn1 form for root. Now, to mount them, it is suggested to mount the root partition on mnt Gentoo. So create that directory, mount then mount the root partition right there to mnt Gentoo. Now for the rest of it, go to mnt Gentoo, create the boot and home, then mount the boot partition, which is partition 2 to boot, then swap on /dev loop1 p3 for the swap partition, then go to boot, mkd fi to make the EFI directory loop1 p1 and mount that to EFI. So now that all that's mounted, then we are going to actually download the stage file, which you can get at gentoo.org. Downloads. And then MD64, stage archives, stage 3, OpenRC, or better yet, stage 3 hardened OpenRC. OpenRC is the init. For most things, it uses systemd. But if you don't know about this, just use systemd. It's what most distros are using. Now, to download it. But since I already have it downloaded, just copy it to here. Then, yeah, then installing SHC, tall xbps SHC dash all.xz dash dash x all atolls dash include equals in brackets stall.stall dash dash numeric dash owner dash c, which specifies the directory in which we will extract the stage 3 MNT Gentoo. Run that. Then, to modify it, modify the make.com, which is going to be the thing that all the packages are compiled with. Add dash mulch equals native to common flags, which makes everything being compile for the CPU that you're using and not just a generic CPU. Then make ops, and we are going to be using the number of cores we have, which is shown by running the input command. For me, it's 16, and save that. Now, for installing the base system. Sage router. First, we're going to copy resolve.com to MNT Gentoo Etsy. For all the network configuration, or more specifically the IP addresses that are used by the system you're on, then search root into MNT Gentoo using bash, then source the profile, then export ps1 equals chroot, which makes us know that we're in the chroot by just looking. Now, preparing for bootloader. I've already mounted these. Merge, that's WebSync, which gets the repositories. Okay, so now that Merge WebSync is done, skip that since we already did the WebSync and this is optional. You select news list, read all these, you select yes, all of these, you should read them. Then you select news, read. Then you select profile list, which is the configuration we are using to install the packages, which compilation options we are doing. And for me, this is OpenRC hardened. If you're using systemd, use hardened systemd. Clear. that out of the way. Since the profile is already set to what I want, we don't need to set it. Read this about the use flags to configure more of the options of compiling the software, like which dependencies you want and don't want, stuff like that. Now, install CPU ID to CPU flags. Now that that's done, CPU2 flags specifies which CPU options we need. Just copy this, Control P to paste it, and send this to export this package. Since I like using a package.use file instead of a directory, I'm going to send it to package.use file, and see this is the same as this. Now, specify which video cards we want. For me, this is AMD GPU. And I'm going to install my editor since it's not already on there. Okay, now that that's done, let's specify the video cards. And again, for me, this is AMD GPU, since I have an AMD GPU. Now, for accept license, equals minus everything else other than 3. Then specify use there, add anything you need to the use thing. Then copy this to there. For me, I'm using an AMD GPU, so I won't need this Intel Ucode, but if you are using an Intel CPU, then you will need that. That's just the microcode updates. Now, to update the app won't set. So, before that, we are going to be setting up Ccache, which is basically a compiler cache for C. Cache is saving basically it saves compilation to disk, so you don't have to recompile code that you have already. You can just it just automatically copies it. So, I'm gonna quickly compile this. So now that that's done, go into etc portage make.conf, and above accept license, add features equals Ccache to enable it. Now we can update on system. Okay, now that our system is updated, we are going to set the local time to America, Chicago. Some link / usual sales zone info America, Chicago to Etsy local time. Then set up our system locales, locale gen, now in the update, configuring the corner. Launch Gentoo corner bin to install an already pre-configured compiled kernel. Okay, now that that's done, install the Linux firmware. Okay, so now what I like doing is enabling Jacka in install kernel. So it's the grub, enabling grub in install kernel, so the grub configuration is automatic. So let's just quickly configure that. I don't have grub installed. So, edit the bottom, you make.conf to have grub platforms, and since I have in the EFI system, it's EFI-64. But if you have a BIOS, then it's just PC. Now, installing it only has EFI-64 and not the PC, which I don't need. Okay, now to actually install the bootloader. So, grub-install /dev nv /root no, grub-install /dev, for me, this is loop 1, desktop EFI directory equals /boot EFI. No error, so and that will be the kernel and the bootloader. Now, let's set up the system. First, the FS tab, which automatically mounts the drives. So, install GenFS tab, then -u/2 etcfs tab. And it's all there. Now that that's done, let's set up some basic networking. So you have Wi-Fi or internet on your computer. First, set the host name. For me, it can really be anything you want. But this is the name of your computer. Let's just name this Butthole. Now, let's set the hosts. 127. This is all set up already. Now, install DHCPCD and WPA supplicant. Yeah. So, now that WPA supplicant and DHCPCD are installed, now also update add DHCPCD to default, and then WPA supplicant to default. Now, install cronny. Okay, now that cronny is installed, also update add cronny to default. Now for the system log, which automatically logs all the errors and information and stuff to a file. This doesn't send it to anyone, which is good. Now that syslogd is installed, add it to default. Already did daemon. Now, --completion to get command auto completion in bash. And we don't have to do anything more than that. Now, for the file systems, actually getting the file systems. In my case, it's ext4 and DOS or FAT. Now, add a password for your user. Let's just put password. That's too weak. The password was too weak, but that doesn't really matter since this isn't I'm not going to be using this. But for you, set your password securely. Now, to enable or get a user set up, for me, this is going to be user. Now, set the user password with passwd, password, and the root user and your user password shouldn't be the same. They should be different. Now, delete the stage D, which I don't have on my partition, but you will probably. I downloaded it to my downloads and extracted it from there. And that is how to install Gentoo.